Hi, you're about to get smarter. Let's go.
Most safety rules feel boring until you realize they're written in real life, not by people who wanted paperwork, by people who lived through a day that went wrong. Today I'm going to tell you 6 true stories. No conspiracy. No what if, just real events that forced the world to change because the old rules weren't enough. And as you watch, pay attention to one pattern. Almost every tragedy had a warning, a small detail that everyone ignored until it was too late. Let's start with a story that changed how cities think about a single word: exit. Imagine going to work on a normal day, same building, same routine, same crowded floor. Then you smell smoke. At first, people assume it's nothing, but smoke doesn't care what you assume. Smoke spreads fast, and panic spreads faster. In one of the most infamous factory fires in American history, the nightmare wasn't just the flames, it was the layout, the crowd, the confusion, and the detail that still makes people angry to this day. Some exit doors were locked. Why would anyone lock an exit? Because management feared theft, feared breaks, feared people leaving early, feared everything except the one thing that actually happened. When the fire escalated, workers surged toward the doors they knew. They hit a bottleneck. They hit locked doors. They ran to stairwells and fire escapes. Some held, some didn't. And in minutes, a normal workday turned into a disaster that shocked the entire country. But here's what changed after that. Cities started taking fire codes seriously. Exits, unlocked doors, outward swinging doors, fire drills, building inspections. Suddenly these weren't optional. They became law, because the alternative had been proven. So when you see an exit sign today, remember, someone paid for that sign to matter. Story 2. The nightclub fire that changed how buildings handle crowds. Crowds are predictable until they're not. In an emergency, people don't spread out evenly like water. They follow what they know. They follow the entrance. They follow each other. One of the most repeated lessons in safety history comes from fires in packed venues. When everyone tries to escape through the same doorway, a doorway turns into a trap. In a crowded club, visibility disappears first. Smoke drops low. People lose direction. Music stops, but confusion gets louder. And then you get the deadliest combination: a narrow exit, panic, and a crowd pushing from behind. After disasters like these, safety codes got stricter. Maximum occupancy rules, more exits, clearer exit signage, doors that open outward, and requirements that exits are never blocked. It sounds obvious now, but it wasn't obvious before. People begged for air in a room that was designed for fun, not for evacuation. So next time you walk into a packed venue and you notice multiple exits, that's not overkill, that's history. Story 3. The hotel fire that forced modern sprinkler rules. People think fire kills by flames. In many building fires, the real killer is smoke, especially in tall buildings where smoke travels like it's being pulled through a system. Now imagine you're asleep in a hotel. You didn't choose the wiring. You didn't choose the materials. You didn't choose the floor plan. All you chose was a room key. When major hotel fires happened in the modern era, investigators kept finding the same brutal truth. If a building isn't equipped to control the fire early, the window for a safe evacuation can be terrifyingly short. That's why sprinkler systems became a turning point. A sprinkler doesn't solve a fire, but it can slow it down enough to give people time. It can keep corridors passable longer. It can reduce the heat that turns small fires into unstoppable ones. After headline-making disasters, many places updated codes to require sprinklers in more types of buildings, especially where people sleep. So if you've ever wondered why some buildings have sprinklers everywhere, it's because someone learned the hard way what happens when they don't. Story 4. The engineering small change that brought a structure down. Here's a scary fact about engineering. A structure doesn't fail because it feels like failing. It fails when the math becomes wrong and the real world finally collects its debt. Some of the most infamous collapses weren't caused by storms or earthquakes. They were caused by a change that looked small on paper, a revised connection, a shortcut in a detail. A misunderstanding between design and construction. And the reason these stories are so chilling is this: the building can look perfectly fine, right up until the second it isn't. After disasters like these, the industry pushed harder on review processes, accountability, and checks. Who approves changes, how designs are verified, and how responsibilities are documented. Because when you're building something that will hold hundreds or thousands of people, pretty sure is not a safety standard. Story 5: The ship disaster that changed global rules. When a massive ship is advertised as the safest thing ever built, people relax. They assume the engineers covered everything. But some disasters proved a harsh lesson. Safety isn't what you believe, it's what you prepared for. After one of the most famous shipwrecks in history, the world changed maritime safety, lifeboat requirements, emergency procedures, communication protocols, and international coordination, because it turned out that in theory wasn't enough. You need enough equipment for real people, in real conditions, at real speed. And the legacy of that disaster still lives in modern maritime rules today. Story 6: The space tragedy that rebuilt how NASA thinks. Spaceflight looks like science fiction, but behind every launch is something less glamorous: checklists, testing, and decisions under pressure. NASA's worst days didn't just shock the world, they forced a complete rethink of culture. How warnings are reported, how risk is discussed, and how go, no-go decisions are made. Because in high-risk systems, the danger is rarely one big mistake. It's usually a chain, a small issue, a tolerated anomaly, a schedule pressure, a decision that should be fine. Until it isn't. After tragedies, NASA rebuilt processes, added layers of review, and changed how engineers and leaders communicate concerns. And here's the point: space disasters didn't just change NASA, they changed how every safety-critical industry thinks about risk. The scary part isn't that disasters happened. The scary part is how often the warning signs were visible beforehand. If you want, I can make a part 2 with 6 more true stories: bridges, planes, and the inventions that came from failure. If this video taught you one thing, let it be this: a boring safety rule is usually a story. With the lesson the world refused to learn twice. Subscribe for more real stories that changed the rules.
Subscribe to keep upgrading your brain. See you in the next one.